My dad had this old ES330 Gibson and a silver tone amp that he bought from Sears in 1964. And growing up, that was always around, and he was always playing it. And my mom and dad bought me a real beat up old Ludwig drum set. My dad and I would sit there, and I'd play the drums, and he'd jam on the guitar, and it was so amazing. When I was 14, I had a really bad accident in a baseball game that made it so I couldn't play sports for well over a year. And man, I tell you what, the guitar that was my way to stay in touch with my pop. And I played like crazy that year. I remember I think that's when I really, the light bulb went on. And I've said to people, the guitar's literally saved my life. And it really has. There's no doubt about it. It gave me a voice. It gave me a way to put myself out there. When there's a guitar around, it will bring people together that would never be in the same room together sometimes. That it breaks down all barriers, race, gender, creed, politics. The guitar brings us together. That's really what the guitar means to me. It's a vehicle for good. One of the coolest things is that it's helping me stay connected with my boys, my two sons. That same ES330, that my dad played from '64. Now my youngest son is learning on that guitar mainly. He loves that guitar. My oldest boy has really surpassed me on the guitar and just music in general. He's amazing. He's got perfect pitch, and so one of the traditions I have with my guitars is when it's finally ready to be plugged in for the first time, or basically born, I guess is one way you could say it. I give it to him, and he's got perfect pitch, and so it's like, okay, tune it up with your ear, and now it's born. And we'll write down that date and that time, and we'll put the name of the guitar. I always name my guitars because I get really close to them as I build them, and whatever's been going on in life for me at that point, I'll come up with a name that goes along with that, and kind of gives the guitar a real human quality. When I build up my Escapes and my Bulls and my Griffins, they're very complex, and they're built out of solid pieces of hardwood. And so I'm left at the end of it, once I've carved all that wood away, I'm left with a lot of scrap. And so that scrap, I've got just scrap for days. I really wanted a guitar that's more like metal, like hard rock and roll. And I thought, well, okay, I'm gonna make these solid bodies out of the extra stuff I've got, and put them at a lower price point, and because I can make them quicker, and I'm using leftover materials or reclaimed materials. From there, it's just been all about reusing things to build these guitars. And so for example, this guitar here it was leftover barnwood, reclaimed barnwood that I used for a project for my sister and brother-in-law. It's just stabilized with epoxy, and then it's got a really hard urethane finish on it to keep it protected. And I love it. I love the idea of a guitar just being just beat up looking, and even the fretboard is sugar maple that I had to stabilize with epoxy. My wife's idea to really take the Phoenix to a whole nother level is, how can we give back to our community with these guitars? My vision and my goals and my dreams with these guitars is to get them in the hands of young players, especially girls. I have a mission to produce more really good female players, because I feel like they're underrepresented. It's not that they're not out there. There's a lot of them, but I just feel like they're underrepresented. So I'm a little bit on a crusade there to get more females playing. But I want to take these into schools preferably, like upper grade school or middle school when kids were first learning to, play. And I want the school to elect two players, one boy, one girl, and then myself or somebody else. I want to give lessons to these kids. I want these kids to be somebody who's barely played or haven't played at all. And then the point is, I don't want to tell them up front that they're going to get the guitar, but I want to, give them lessons on it. And then if they reach a certain point, I'm just going to give it to them. That switch, I'm looking for that switch with young players. I want to get them from, I'm just goofing on a guitar, to, whoa, I can play this thing, So with every Phoenix, you're going to get basically just, it's always going to be the same type of specs except for a few little tweaks here and there. It's always going to be a solid body or just barely chambered inside, to keep it light. You'll have basically 2 control knobs, 3 at the most, but 2 control knobs. If I get really fancy, I'll make them push-pull, both of them, to either, split or put them in series to get a giant humbucker. In general, there'll be high resistance humbuckers or P90s to be, more of a rock and roll heavy metal guitar. They'll always have this long tail on them. What this does is allows a vibrato. I saw Kim Thale do this a long time ago in Soundgarden, and you can really lean on that to get some vibrato. One unintended consequence of the long tail, though, is you can get some pretty hefty feedback out of that tail, and so it's pretty easy to fix. You just tie a piece of cloth or something around it, and you can still get the vibrato effect. But just something added. Sometimes it's really cool and nice. You can add it on there, and it will always have just one switch, 25 scale length with 24 frets, so you can always depend on the integrity of the neck, and then the body will never be the same. You'll never have a similar or the same type of Phoenix anywhere.